Hello everyone. This is going to be a lecture from whoops. This is going to be a lecture from a game recently that was played between a 4Q and a 5Q player on KGS. I meant to upload a lecture that I recently gave in the study group Q room, but unfortunately my screen recording software didn't seem to like the fact that I was trying to record a 4 GB video. Instead I'm going to be uploading a game review of this game, which I found particularly interesting. There was a lot of intense fighting and a lot of interesting points of the game, which I think are particularly instructive in terms of both good moves and bad moves. So, by the way, this lecture is pretty much meant for people between, I would say, 1Q to about 10Q should get the most out of this lecture. So, the opening is pretty simple. Black makes himself the large enclosure. We could discuss some of the differences between the small enclosure and the large enclosure. So naturally the large enclosure tries to take more points than the small enclosure does at P3. Of course, the flip side of it is that the corner is slightly less secure. There's a lot more AGA if white wants to play a move like R3 later on. Right now it's not a good idea, but later on some additional AGA or potential could appear in that corner, so just something to be aware of. So what might be a good move for white next? Well, the basic moves, of course, are to when your opponent has a formation like this, high development potential on this side, high development potential here, both facing towards the right side. Playing right in the middle of that would seem like an excellent move. Another excellent choice for white. White himself has two very high development fourth line stones, so naturally he could play on the fourth line himself. White decides to play in the middle, which is a fantastic move, no complaints. And then black approaches from R8, which is also great. And then white plays R14. Now, this may seem counterintuitive to some players because the instinctual thing that you're told is if you're on the third line, you have to make a 2-space extension. Don't make 3-space extensions with your third line stones because, of course, there's this weakness right in the middle. And there is a weakness here, but and actually R12 is playable for black. But the key to remember here is that Q16 is also being threatened. So if black does play this move, white's natural response is just to jump, split black in half. Now if black tries and defends R12 with a move like Q11, if black attempts this is very painful for black's Q16. So now if black runs around, or if black attaches under, and then extends down, it's true that black can live in the corner, but look at what's white's gain. First of all, R10 has AGA. It's not entirely dead yet. And second of all, white is in the process of building himself something very, very nice along the top area right here. And black's corner, I mean, it's okay, but it's nothing huge. It's nothing particularly special. So this probably isn't a great idea, except under special circumstances. So normally black will play either O16 or O17, and then white will play a move like this. And then oftentimes black will attach here, and white will descend, and this provides partial protection for the corner. There's still a move at S16, of course, for white to take later to reduce him. And R12 has a little bit of AGA left. There's a peep here, and there's some potential there. But for now, white's group isn't in any immediate danger. So this is possible for black, but it's not. But it's okay for white too. But a more solid response is, N16 is a move you might see played sometimes, but I would not recommend it for you. This tries to follow along with that, I should make a 2-space extension because it gets more than a 1-space extension around O16 or O17. And, it does attempt to, but the problem I have with it is that a 2-space extension on the fourth line is very different than a 2-space extension on the third line. On the fourth line, the 2-space extension can actually be a little bit too thin for black to play with. For one thing, it doesn't provide nearly enough protection in the corner. If white wants, the corner is extremely easy to invade. Now, of course, the corner is still invadable with other shapes, but this way in particular, it's easy for white to make a fairly sized life. And this might not be too great for white because he's a little bit weaker on the outside. But, you make a few peeps, and, white might feel a little bit uncomfortable. But it's a possible game for him. But the main point behind N16 that you need to worry about is that it's too far away from Q16 to really provide good corner protection. There's also really interesting AGA when this happens. This can create many, many complex situations. And normally if N16 were closer at O16 or O17, it would be a lot easier for black to handle. I mean, if, for example, if this were the situation, this would be much easier for black to handle. Even if black just wants to go as simple as humanly possible. He can just go like this. And black is perfectly happy with capturing the stones like this. But when it's two spaces away, it makes it a lot trickier for black to properly manage and a lot more complications. So white plays normally, which is a little bit passive for white, considering black got N16, but nevertheless, it's not a bad move. But now here we have a very common mistake. The proper move for white is to immediately come back and play Q12. And this might look a little bit over-concentrated because you have these one-space extensions, but you have to remember a few things. First of all, this is, for all intents and purposes, perfect shape. Black has 0 AGA, 0 ways to invade this group. This is 110% points, basically. I mean, there's no way that black can stop these points. And white's group is 100% solid. So this is actually considered slightly superior for white. You don't see this happen in professional games because as black, the professional player does not want white to get this shape. Now, if white wants, in some games it's actually possible for white to Tanuki here. Not in this game. In this game, Tanuki would be very dangerous for white. Not particularly pleasant. But in some games, you can Tanuki because, notice there's a flexibility here. White can dive into the R17 corner if his outside group is split in half at R12. White has this R17 dive to get compensation. So the key here is flexibility. White stones are flexible. He can dive into the corner. He can make himself live outside. There's a lot he can do. But after you make this exchange, you both split the corner in half. Well, you split the corner. But now the problem is you lose that flexibility. Right, so as I was saying, quick pause there. So as I was saying, this loses a lot of the flexibility. And, if white Tanuki's here, and later on black plays this move, there is no corner dive, and there's no R17 corner dive anymore. And it's very hard for white to connect his stones. Now, what many players will do is attempt to, I'll just, do this, and I'll try and live in the corner, and make eyes, but there's a few things wrong with this strategy. First of all, white thus far has only one eye. At the moment, it's not 2. Now, if white really works at it, white can maybe do this, and then do this, and this way, yeah, okay, white lives. But look at what white sacrificed to make life this way. I mean, black could probably just play here. And so congratulations, white lives with what, 5, maybe 6 points? And black makes territory here, big wall here, this stone looks stupid. This is a horrible result for white. White could never be satisfied with this. So it's not a good idea to rush away from this group to take another big point. Q12 for white is just so important right now. I can't even describe its importance. So this is a slightly awkward move. This move might some of you might recognize from the low Chinese opening. And this is fine for low Chinese. If this were the board position, this would be a great move. But here, it's not necessarily a terrible move. It just feels slightly awkward. So small stuff, but nevertheless important. So then black does an approach here, which is a fine move, I think. This is black stone here is low, so it's not huge potential, but the side is very long. So you can definitely make some points. Although I think I might like this one a little bit more. If white just defends normally, black can just play like this, and then with this variation. And H16 is a very good variation to know compared to the more standard J17. This is a move when you want more development rather than pure territory. Now, if black manages to get one more move at K16, this whole top is almost solid territory. There's a few still weaknesses, but it's almost solid territory. And white's made some points too, of course, but black can be very happy with himself. By comparison, the reason why I like f17 more than f3 is that if white manages to get this move at A, this is really, really annoying. I'm sure many of you have faced these kinds of open skirt situations. You know, black's the phrase is called black's skirt is open because white can slide underneath and steal points out, and I'm sure everyone hates that. So, you know, it's a great situation for black to try and close it off by playing a move here. By comparison, on the bottom side, if white plays a move at m3, which probably actually isn't that great a move, but if white does play a move here, O3 is low and solid. There is no slide for white stone here. O3 is low and solid. So that's why I like the top a little bit more. But still, F3 isn't a terrible move. And this is very good placement. Black gets a lot of kudos for placing J4 so well. So J4. So the question is, why does black choose to play J4 rather than, you know, a move like K4, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with playing for frameworks. So the idea with this move is that you retain a lot of flexibility because F3 can dive into the corner if white attempts to split at H3. But and that's fine, so that we can't say that this is terrible. But the idea is this is slightly better when you're not scared of white playing a move around L3 to make you inefficient. When you're not scared of a move like L3, then this is okay to play. Because, you know, if white attempts to make black, you know, to attack black like this, if white attempts to attack black like this, you know, black is more than happy to attack with a kick and a stand. K6 is the more aggressive option. J6 is also possible, but this is not a pleasant fight for white to be in. So black is perfectly okay doing that. Then the other reason is, similar to what we talked about on the top a little while ago, if black gets one more move around L4, this bottom area is pretty solid. There's still a little bit of weakness potential for white to get in, but it's I'm going to call it 90% solid if black manages to get himself L4. By comparison, if black has a move at K4, it's very hard to make all of this solid in one more move. I mean, there's two invasion points still. There's an invasion point here, and there's an invasion point here. And it's really, really hard for black to find a single move that will protect all of it. So then white plays a K17, which is a little bit nicer than playing L17. It's not a bad move, though. White can still get a slide in at N18, so it's still playable. And it's annoying for black. I mean, if black just plays a little, you know, diagonal defensive move like this, white is thrilled. White just goes like this. And white is utterly thrilled. Black's territory here, black has spent 4 moves to make maybe, what, 12, 16 points so far? It's not really efficient use of your moves. And white, by comparison, has this perfect double wing formation. When I say double wing formation, I mean you have a stone in the center, well, a stone in the corner like D16, and then you have a wing out here with C11, and then a wing on the other side like this. And having a double wing formation like this is extremely strong. So black naturally tries to counter it, and so we have an interesting fight here. This is a playable move. I'd say it's playable. White's move is white's response is possible, I suppose. The other choice for white is to kick black like this. I'm sure many of you are familiar. This is possible, and now a complicated fight around K17 commences, and then maybe black may play something similar. And the fight commences. It's pretty similar, I suppose, both of the variations. So black defends, or white defends at D17. Black jumps, which is fine. White needs to defend, which he does. And now black tries to attack K17, which isn't necessarily that easy, because K17 has a lot of maneuver room, and F17, these stones, they're not particularly strong yet. So black's move is actually fine. If black were to try a more, you know, eye-making move like this, it would give white a lot of flexibility, to a lot of ease for white to just jump into the center. And now it's very hard for black to attack white. And black stones, sure, they have one. You could say they have one eye there, but to say that black has 2 eyes, that's a bit of an exaggeration. So black still needs to make sure that he has 2 eyes here, because he has these white group. This white group is very strong over here. Plus, white still has this really, really annoying N18 move that he can play that black really needs to worry about. So black takes this move, and white pushes up, which is perfectly playable. And now, what I really think that black could use is this move. This is a very, very strong Hana here. Now, this may look really, really dangerous to people watching. It's, many people might think, well, wait, what if white does this? Well, black can still fight this way, because white's K17 stones are not that strong yet. Black basically descends here, and if white attempts to fight his way out like this, black is in a manageable situation. His corner is hurt, perhaps, but the key thing to remember here is that white is also not strong. And now it's a big fight for both sides to play with. Definitely a big fight. You could also consider as black possibly doing this move, and then making the classic pinwheel formation. And this is not an easy fight for white to manage. White's two stones are all alone inside, and they need to make eyes. And black stones here, well, they're not alive yet, but if black manages to get a move at F13, they're going to escape into the center. And so white basically has a problem. If white attempts to stop them, well, first of all, these two stones are thin, but also black can just do this. And it's very difficult for white to manage. Now, white should probably do something like this, and now it gets a little bit trickier. Whether black should black try and stop them? Should black immediately jump out and let white potentially make a ko to connect under? It's a complicated situation, but still, it's probably favorable for black, because either way, white's center stones are going to become very weak as a result of the fighting. So this is too passive, I think. This is a little bit silly for white. It's not a good idea. This is a great example of a bad peep. You don't want to peep like this. This is possible for white, threatening to connect under at F18, potentially making G16 a little bit more effective, but really what I would want to do as white is just get out of there, like this, and try and attack these N16 stones, and just get yourself to safety. Black will still have a cutting weakness here, black doesn't have two eyes yet, so white can manage this way. We can call this a manageable fight for white. So black responds excellently. Also fine. And now white is too obsessed with saving his stones here. He's going to save these stones, but let's see what happens. So white saves his stones. This is a little bit too nice. Black can actually play this. Now, you might immediately think that, oh, it doesn't work. And you're right, it doesn't work. White can run out if black attempts to do this. But it gives black easier forcing moves. Pretty similar result in the end compared to the game result. Right, white plays this move, which isn't that great. White should actually play this move, which gives black one less forcing move. If black plays this now, white naturally will attempt to do this and keep fighting. So black won't do that, of course. He'll play this, but regardless, black will not have a stone at G15, which is a small difference, but nevertheless potentially important. So black, of course, is thrilled with this result. White's K17, K16 stones, they just look stupid. Black's group is entirely alive, or mostly alive. Black's on schedule to make a lot of points on the top, and white stones, they're not really doing that much. They're just a dumpling. They're a dumpling clump. They're just not doing much. So white dives on in. We talked about this move earlier. This is not a move that black should be particularly scared of, as long as he responds well to it. This, however, is a very bad response. This is a response that a lot of Q players make. You see two stones or three stones that you just really want to capture, and you just have to play a move to finish them off. And this does capture the two stones, of course, but the problem is it's just not that big. I mean, it's not that important that black manages to capture them. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that white decides he's going to run out immediately with these stones, which, by the way, this is a terrible idea. Don't do this. But let's say, purely for the sake of argument, that he does. Well, you can expect something like this to happen. Oops. You can expect something like this to happen. And then black takes a move here. And sure, white has technically escaped, but to what end? I mean, so he's maybe prevented black from taking, what, 6 or 7 points here. But now white has this floaty group here, and I mean, maybe he can try and connect it, but it's really hard to connect his stones. and white just has this floating group that's not doing much. So don't save stones you shouldn't save stones simply for the sake of trying to save them. But by the same token, you don't need to capture stones when it's not that threatening if they want to get out. L3 is a critically important move to respond to, and this is a big mistake for black. Okay, so white's move is actually a little bit passive. If white wanted to play H3, he should have just played H3 directly. Let's see, if I was white, I would like to do this a lot more. Now this kind of double hane here is a very common technique you'll find in Dan games. It's great for making life when you have a third line stone here. At first glance, it looks really stupid, because, well, what if black just goes there, and then he captures here? And it's true that H2 is, of course, captured, but not all is lost, because black has this really nice cut. And then this. And this is a pretty good result for white to have here. I mean, if black just tries that, sure, black has made beautiful shape, but look, this was black's area before. And now white has this, moderately strong group that's basically alive here. White is utterly thrilled with this kind of result. So this is a little bit too nice. So black is trying to max to destroy liberties. Tricky to say what's absolutely best. Oops, don't close. Tricky to say what is absolutely best. But yeah, this is cannot be considered a fantastic result for black, really. White is nevertheless very happy with his result. I think one of the important things here is that black plays something like this. This is very important. Now the strategy here for white is a classic. Is this. And this is a very common testrategy that you should all be aware of if you're not. If black attempts to cut, this is very bad for black, because white just does this. And if the latter works, well, that's just gravy. But even if the latter doesn't work, you can just do this. And white is, of course, thrilled. Utterly thrilled with the result. So that's not a good idea for black. Nevertheless, there is still potential here. For one thing, if you get this move, white can disconnect the stones, but now, first of all, black's shape is a lot stronger than it was. And second of all, there is enough corner AGA for black to live. Black can just manage in here with all of his might. Black can just manage to make himself 4 spaces, and there's really no way for white to kill him. And so white has maybe captured these 2 stones, but we can't say white is thrilled with the result. I mean, the wall is nice, but black has made great shape here, disconnected L3, stolen the corner, and basically on the entire board, this is all white's territory. This is all white has on the entire board. And it's big, but it's not 100% solid yet. So we can't be satisfied with this as white. Going back to the game, though, this is a little bit too thin, I fear. One idea for black, if black wants, is to play like this. And this is the idea. And black should just play here. And now it turns into a very complex fight, depending on what happens. If white plays simply, you can expect something like this to happen. And it's playable for black, but I would still prefer white. So black attempts to connect his stones under, but ends up just white getting a gigantic corner and black's shape ending awkwardly. Right, black still needs another move to really fix his shape in some way. And L3 still has AGA. So black cannot be thrilled with this kind of result. But now it's white's turn. And this is a bit of an overplay. The problem here is that white's group here still isn't strong. White, black is getting so strong over here and stronger every day over here. White really needs to play a move. Really needs to play a move right here. And now as white, you have 2 choices. If black plays a move at A, there's enough AGA in the corner at B to, along with the AGA here and the peep here, for white to manage something in the corner. If black responds by playing here, well, first of all, if white just wants to be simple, I mean, white can basically manage to do something along these lines. And if white really wants to play lightly, he can even just do this. And sure, black can play here and maybe make eyes, but white can fight this way. And it's almost impossible for black to kill off all of these stones. And white will be able to get a sizable reduction in this area. So it's difficult for black to really make it all solid. There's also AGA around here, of course. This is particularly potentially annoying for black to deal with, depending on what's going on the rest of the board, of course. But not always easy. It creates a lot of AGA in the corner for later. Can't live immediately. But this is an overplay, because black will just go here. And now, so white makes this move, which reduces the center a lot, but it really just abandons these stones and leaves them to, whatever black wants to do to them. So really, black should just play here. And if white wants to attempt to ruin some points over here, black basically steals the entire territory over here. It's an interesting trade idea, but I'm not a huge fan of it for white. This is much too nice for black. Much too nice. White is, of course, thrilled to connect under. No worries. And then, black can connect there, but white has this disconnection move, which is rather annoying, actually. I think black can play here. Let's see. Seems okay. I don't think white can descend very well. Black just does this, and white doesn't have very much. This doesn't work because black just has a ladder, and white doesn't really have much of a continuation. So yeah, it seems perfectly playable. If white attempts to cut immediately, I suppose, yeah, this is still fine. Yeah, white can't live because the cut here doesn't work. So yeah, he's basically fine. So yeah, this is not good for black. These are the type of things you really need to listen. You need to look at very carefully before deciding. It takes a lot of complex reading, but it's a skill that will vastly pay off for you. And white makes this move. And cut through here. So white is kind of being unfocused right now. He's trying to cut here, cut there, but he's leaving this weakness behind at R5, which basically makes his R6 move silly. It would be much better for white to just play this move if he wants to disconnect. And then, maybe he can get to R7 later. There's a lot of disconnection AGA here for white to strengthen himself. Plus, there's a lot of great endgame at S4 is a great corner endgame reduction. So if white wants to play like this, I would definitely recommend he play R5 immediately. So white can disconnect here, but look what's happened here. He's forcing black to connect to his own stones, to his friendly stones, which usually isn't a great idea. And so, white can probably manage to live. That's not going to be a problem for him. But yeah, there's a lot of nasty AGA inside of there. His shape is very awkward. And so yeah, he tries a knight's jump, but this is a knight's jump in the middle of black's power. Attempting to do an aggressive move like a knight's jump in the middle of black's area of strength is a very dangerous idea. And yeah, so black is great here. He cuts simply. I would much prefer black to do this. It doesn't create any kind of frustrating ko, which could prove very painful. I would much prefer he just do this. And then if white connects out, black just does this. No worries. White is still weak here. It's not assured that he has two eyes. There's a wedge AGA here for later. That's definitely painful. And these two stones are almost dead. Black can probably get Q14 in Sente because it threatens these stones. So black is thrilled if this were to happen. This is a little bit dangerous because of that ko that he can make. It's needlessly giving white a very powerful ko. If white wins this ko, it's very painful for black. So this is a possible ko threat, but it's a little bit too small, I fear. What is a bigger ko threat? I guess that's a problem that white has right now. He doesn't really have any gigantic ko threats. Problematic. Yeah, okay, I suppose it's playable. So yeah, black naturally connects and white cuts. And so yeah, a big fight starts here. And the question is, who's going to win this liberty fight? And black has 5 liberties. And white has an undetermined number. It depends how simply he manages to play. But if white plays very simply, it gives white 5 liberties as well. And I worry, though, that, well, white has a lot of potential here to connect out because of this move. There's a fair amount of potential. But nevertheless, I think black can manage just fine if he plays simply. This is problematic, though. Oh, but black can take this move in, well, geez, complex situation. Could consider a trade like this. But it's interesting. This is a very, very complicated liberty fight. The problem being, if black attempts a move like this, there's a nasty AGA like this. And this ends up giving white a critical liberty to help him out with. So white playing here is actually a huge mistake. Well, yeah, he's burning his own liberties in essence. As black, all black needs to do is this. Black is playing much, much too complicated. Just play this, and you know everything is golden. And yeah, I think white should be in a fair amount of trouble, or at least some sort of seki. But yeah, this is too nice. Gives him shape, and this doesn't take away a liberty, which is kind of important. I would much prefer doing this as white. Now black can of course go inside and steal that eye away. Black probably saw this, but now the question is: look, this is a great problem to look at in terms of eyes. White has 1 eye, black has no eyes, and this situation here, when you have an eye, is just you could call it a liberty suck. It just takes so many moves to fill that N1 liberty. So white takes a liberty here, black has to capture. White takes a liberty here, black can't play N1 yet, he has to fill. White takes a liberty here, and you know, the fight's over. It's not easy at all. I would, yeah. So white can actually win here if he plays properly. But this is a big mistake without making the eyes solid. Yeah. White can still win, actually. It's not as good for him in terms of points, but white still has a win. All he needs is this, and white wins it. Not quite as good, but nevertheless, you know, a capture is a capture at this point. But this is a very big mistake, and this is going to end up costing him. Now you have a really interesting co position set up. Although I think white can still win, because you have a double co situation here. And the problem for black here is that he can't fill in all the liberties, because black is running low on liberties. So by a double co situation here, eye versus no eye, this is a very good life and death rule to know. If you have a double co, it often makes it impossible for your opponent to win. There is no way for black to win this fight, I suppose you could say. But yeah, this is a very, very bad mistake. See, now it's very, very different. You have allowed black to fill one of the co's, changing it back into a single co. Now it's a 2-step co for black, but nevertheless, it's playable for black. Alright, one of the steps is done, and he captures, and he captures. So this is a big gain for black when he didn't need it. This is huge. White, of course, gained. We can talk about white's huge corner here, and black has a huge amount of points here. Now, actually, the game is still pretty close. Both sides have made huge exchanges and mistakes, but the game itself is still relatively close. This is another situation that's, I think, important to look at. Is it necessary? Is it necessary? See, I don't think this move is necessary here at p6. See, the problem is that black has a move to escape here whenever he needs to. So I would question whether it's truly necessary. Also, another thing to look at is if white attempts. One thing that might look scary is white doing this, and it does look a little bit scary. But the key here is just push in, and now white can't play here because it's self-Atari. If white attempts to fix that, well, black can fix it as well. And these white stones are dead, so white can't possibly make two eyes inside with this. This is a very difficult fight for white to manage to win, I fear. Even with the outside. Nevertheless, this is I suppose we could consider this a solid move. It eliminates the AGA. So white is now trying to live with these stones. What do you guys think? Is Q15 a good move? Probably not. It's probably not the best move. It's surrounded by relative black strength around here, and I fear that it's going to be chased so much that any gain it makes is just going to be counteracted. Wow, this is a little bit wild. So, I think it might have just been simpler for black to do this. And then if this happens, and then black can win the Liberty fight. White cannot win this because this is self-Atari. Or not self-Atari, this puts the stones in Atari. So white can't win by doing that. So I think this should be the way for black to play. At the very least, though, black needs to go here. This is critically important. At a minimum, he has to play here. I mean, this move is just too greedy. It's much too greedy. Also, there's actually... What does black do here is my question. I mean, this just seems like it's full of nasty potential. Full of problems that he has to deal with. And then white just goes like this. And yeah, this can't be considered great for black. But white plays on the outside. And now white needs to try and live inside, which is a very difficult task. It's an interesting question here. Is it necessary? Yeah, that's fine. So white can just manage to squeeze out his stones like this, but we still can't say that white is necessarily thrilled with this kind of situation. And this is a huge blunder. White has no choice but to continue jumping here. And then continue jumping there. And that's no choice at all for white in this case. And both sides can continue their fighting like this, and black should end up all right, and so should white. But yeah, this is a monstrous mistake because this double hane is just so painful. This creates an unnecessary cutting weakness, though. It's good that black saw that this is a weakness, but I would much prefer just go like this. It's so white. White can play this move, but this isn't a threat. That can just be netted. If white plays this move, black just connects up, and it's really not much of a threat. I mean, black just gains so many liberties. I just don't see this working out particularly well for white. See, this creates a little bit too much cutting AGA. Nevertheless, black plays very well here. He takes that vital point. But here, this is an important mistake that he made. Yeah, you gotta play here. Gotta play here. Right now is white. Because even though black can get that, I mean, white can manage to win this by 1 liberty. So now it's even more important. Yeah, white finds the vital point, and black's shape just collapses. Black's dead stones revive themselves, and black does a little bit of damage over here, but now black is in emergency for living. An interesting fighting situation here. I think this is fine though, because this fight is difficult for black. It's not exactly easy for white, But white has a lot of friends nearby, and this is the most important thing here. You know, this is one of those critical local versus global situations. This is fightable for white because of his strong stones in the area. In fact, white could even consider playing a move like this because his friendly stones are nearby. And it's very hard for black to manage to disconnect them. So white can definitely manage playing like this. And now you have a very, very complicated fight just spiraling around this area of the board. But it doesn't look bad for white. So this is a little bit too nice, I fear. You are, oh well, black is a little bit greedy. This is a mutual greed. Black feels like he has to play this to win. And then white plays greedy as well. What white really needs to do is just pull back. Black doesn't have a fully developed eye here yet. Even though it looks like he has a lot, it's not entirely clear if black can make an eye just yet without another move. Now, if black has another move, he can make one eye. But, you know, black makes one eye. But then the question is, well, where's the second eye? I don't see a second eye. And, you know, there is no second eye. It's going to die. By the same token, black can maybe make one eye here, but can he make a second eye? Difficult, very difficult. Yeah, I think this is difficult for black to manage. This though is a real big overplay. This is just you know, trying to rip out eyes at all costs, and that can end you with nothing but ruin. So this is huge overplays for white. There's no way that you know, white finds a fancy move that looks like it could work, and white manages to kill the 3 stones. Although in reality, white could probably manage to play this all right, and then black can do that. But you know, the key here to remember is that white has a lot of shape problems. I mean, if we look what happens after all the pushes are done, you know, white can just manage to connect his stones and keep them safe here. But difficult to say that black is necessarily going to die. I mean, for one thing, black has this very, very, very nice move. And this is a rather difficult move for white to counter. And then, yeah, I mean, just go here. And that's all you need. And he can manage to live. But it's a very complicated fight, suffice it to say. And white is really just going all out to try and kill. And this is very often a mistake. So white manages to capture the 3 black stones, which isn't too bad. But black makes life, you know, 100% life. And that's really valuable. And yeah, this doesn't work for black. He loses by a liberty, which he finds out. And so we're at this situation. And black wants another eye with G18. G18 is not a small move. It's possible. Yeah, he can play G18. But I would really prefer him to play a move like this, because this is very large. It gets inside. It threatens to play here, and it threatens to potentially save these stones and make more points. It's just an all-around really good move. And white's playing too much in his corner. White thinks that there's a corner problem, but there really isn't. As of now, white could probably just even play this. And this is actually a good question. So let's say black decides to play in the corner. And now the normal moves, I'm sure that everyone is familiar with, of course, are this and this. And normally these are great moves. But when you have extreme strength in an area, you can be much more aggressive. So rather than those 2 moves, well, let's think about this. What about this move? This is a very aggressive move. But in this case, because you have support around B7, it's really not too bad. So let's see. Black pushes in. Well, white could play C5, but in this case, you know, white is so strong that he can just play this. And, you know, what's black going to do about it? Black's going to push up here. He's going to try and get out there. In fact, white doesn't even need to play E5. White can play E4. What's black going to do? Come out here, and then white goes like this. If white even needs to play another move. And then, you know, there's obviously nothing for black in here. Black has nothing. It's impossible for black to disconnect anything. It's impossible for black to live. White is thrilled. So these kinds of special purpose attacks are great when you're strong enough, when your stones are strong enough, and it's also good to make sure you don't waste moves unnecessarily. See, this is much too nice as black. Black should really, really just do this. and take away as much as possible from white. Oh, there we go. Very nice trick. So in reality, white should probably settle for this. This is enough. There's still a AGA at this H10 cut, and black will probably need to pull back, and then white can take this. But yeah, that double honey is a bad mistake, because, yep, ouch, painful. Very nice Tsuji, first class. So he gets captured those stones, and white makes a little bit of compensation. And yeah, the Yosei is basically finishing up. And that's yeah, I don't know what J19 is. It's a little mistake. But yeah, that basically finished it up, and the game ends with what? Yeah, about a 4.5 point black win. And so this was a fascinating game that we saw with the point total wildly swing back and forth. But I think you know, the key point here to look at is the key points here to look at are considering what stones both sides tried to save. You know, everyone wants to try and save their weak stones, but if you end up attempting to save your weak stones that are, you know, extremely weak, they're going to end up hurting you more than saving them will give you. So this finishes up this lecture on 4Q versus 5Q Q game on KGS. So I hope to see you all next time for the next lecture. Thank you.